and welcome to Ray of Hope, the podcast, episode number 2. I am your host, Dr. Raya, the CEO and founder of Raya's Raise a Life Foundation, here with my director, my sister friend, Nurse Leslie London Alexander.
Hello.
We are so excited about this episode. Tonight's episode is about self-love. Let me say that again, self-love.
Yes.
So many definitions of self-love. We're going to talk about comparisons and the society and all that stuff. I know for myself, I'm going to be sitting back doing more listening than I am talking, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to learn from this tonight. So you'll have me passing it off to my sister a lot tonight, because I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn just like you. So, Ray of Hope. Self-love. We're going to start with Nurse Leslie. We're going to let her define what self-love is to her. So.
Well, thank you, Raya.
Yes.
So self-love. Self-love. Self-love to me is loving any and every aspect of your entire being. Your flaws, your good days, your bad days, your pretty pictures, your ugly pictures. It's really a combination of who you are. Self-love is defined, however, by the Brain and Behavior Institute. It says it's a state of appreciation for oneself that grows from actions that support our physical, spiritual growth, and psychological growth.
Come on.
So again, that is every aspect of who you are in your life. If you have self-love, to some, and this does not fit for everyone, but to some, self-love, once you have come to the place where you really love who you are, life is a little easier, right? Because you don't take things so serious. For me, self-love, I figured it out early on. I kind of stumbled upon it, to be real with you, because as a kid growing up in New Orleans, we had this light skin, dark skin type thing going on, right?
It's our community.
Clearly, I'm dark skinned, but I was darker. I was much darker with the jerry curl and gap teeth, spaces everywhere. I won't say that I didn't love myself, because I think maybe at that moment I was too immature to really understand that. But I've always noticed that I was funny. I could make people laugh.
Yes, you can.
So because of it, that kind of propelled me to feel comfortable enough with myself to be around people where I didn't see myself as ugly or pretty. Even though I didn't feel pretty and I thought I was ugly, it didn't really bother me as much, because I had that jokester, that funniness, and people liked to be around me because I was funny. I think at that moment, growing up, like looking back on it and thinking back on it now, that's really when, and it may not make sense, but it connects the dots for me, because that's kind of when I really fell in love with myself. Because being around people, I didn't feel like I had to look a certain way, because I was funny, so people didn't really care what I look like. It's just, I can make them laugh. So nobody cares about the pretty girl or the ugly girl who's funny. I was just a funny girl. And people were attracted to that in a sense. So for me, self-love has always just been about being true to who I was. I was funny. And because I was funny, I was able to be, take that inward and just really start looking at myself and digest things about myself that I didn't always feel comfortable with.
Right.
So it wasn't until, like I said, elementary school, I was able to look back and be like, I had a jerry curl, but people still thought I was funny. Right. I had gap teeth, but people still thought I was funny. That really is what helped me deal with my flaws and insecurities, and helped me learn how to love myself because I was funny. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah, so self-love is different. Yeah, self-love is different for everybody.
Right.
I've obviously had issues, and as an adult, with, again, still dealing with self-love, because we never really grow out of it, right?
Right.
We always still find things to compare ourselves with, or complain about, or we are our worst critics as women when it comes to seeing a picture of ourselves or putting on an outfit and critiquing, oh, look at this roll I got back here, or my makeup is not right, or my eyebrows is crooked, or I don't have lashes on.
Right.
We are our worst critic when we see ourselves like that. Other people see something totally different.
Right.
And so self-love, and I'm so glad we are doing this topic because it's so needed.
So needed.
Every day, not just today, but
Every
we need
day.
to remind ourselves every day about loving ourselves and just being comfortable with who you are, where you are, in the midst of whatever it is you're dealing with. Self-love is everything. And I can go on, but I'm gonna let Raya talk because she needs to chime in too.
No, it's okay because I'm gonna do a lot of listening. Like I said, this is for me so I can learn too. Self-love for me was different. I was taught in my home to love myself. I was taught that God doesn't make any mistakes. He made you perfect. He made you in his image. I was fine with that until I entered into society. So I was the girl that was in between the light skin and the dark skin. So my dark skin friend said, oh, you're yellow. My yellow friend said, oh, you're dark. I had big ears growing up. Yeah, they're pointy. So I was compared to Baby New Ears, not Baby New Years and Dumbo and all this stuff. So when I entered into society, kids can be mean.
That's terrible.
Kids can break down your self-esteem. Kids are truthful too, so there's some truth into some of the things they were saying. It's just that they can say hurtful. But I learned to love myself in my household, but when I entered into society is when people start projecting their self-hate onto me, making me hate myself internally. I was modeling at the age of 13, and back then we didn't have a lot of black models. So my agents, nobody black worked in the facility. And so I had curly hair, and it's like, oh, we can't book you with your hair like that. You need to straighten your hair. So at an early age, I'm wearing makeup and I'm getting waxed and I'm getting wigs and weaves and all this stuff to be able to work for this modeling agency because we didn't have anybody that looked like me. But I was making money, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're right. So I changed who I was, but it got to mess with me mentally to where the self-love I was taught in my home started to diminish because I didn't feel like I was good enough because I had curly hair or because I was fine for them on print because I was bony. But then when I went to school, it was like, oh, you're skinny, you're bony, you're this, you're that. And in our community, as we know, being bony is not always the cool thing. It's like, you need to eat something, baby. So, but I was taught self-love in the house. And society kind of deterred my thoughts away from what I was taught in my home. So I grew up thinking that I had to be something that I wasn't. I grew up thinking that I had to have my hair and makeup done to take out the trash, to go check the mail, to go to the grocery store because of what I was told by other people. It wasn't until later on in life when I started to connect spiritually with my higher being that I determined that my self-love was not based off of how other people see me or what they said to me, but how I saw myself. So I had to start reevaluating myself, and it got to a point where it hurt me and it helped me. So let me explain that. So it helped me because I got rid of the weaves, I got rid of the makeup, I got rid of the lashes, and I just started doing me. I started accepting myself for who I was. That was the help. What hurt me was because I changed who I was, I started to project that onto other women. You don't need all that. I love myself for being natural, but I was hurting other women by saying, maybe you don't love yourself for covering yourself up. And so that's not a good friend. That wasn't a good role model, wasn't a good mentor, because who am I to tell somebody that because you have these things that I just got out of, mind you, I was the one wearing weaves and wigs and lashes and makeup. Who am I to tell somebody that because you have those things, you don't love yourself? So it hurt me and it helped me, but I'm growing from that. And so with that being said, I'm so glad that now at this moment in my life, being in my 40s, that I have friends like Leslie that holds me accountable to say, girl, pull yourself back. Reevaluate yourself. You ain't always right. And that's the real. I also have a friend named Mo. Y'all gonna meet her later. But she was like, girl, you are not Beyonce. And when I tell tell you that moment, it was
Pretty
therapy
funny.
for me. We were supposed to be having a business meeting. It was therapy for me, and I don't think they understood that when they left, they made a huge impact on my life at that moment. It's the little things. It's the people that hold you accountable. It's the people that show you how to love yourself without putting other people down. That's what we're going to get into tonight. So Leslie's going to talk about society and comparison and what we see on these videos and what we see on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, and how sometimes we don't even know, but subconsciously that affects how we feel about ourselves. So what do you think?
It absolutely, what we see absolutely sometimes affects what our mind process. So I have a 16-year-old and beautiful little girl, but has 4C hair. Taylor has probably 3 different types of textures of hair. You brush it all back at one point, it's nothing but waves. You put a little mousse on the end, it gets curly, but it's those tight curls. And it's super thick. She went to a school where she didn't feel accepted because of the way she looked. So her self-love, what she saw and being around was not really her reality. But because that's what she saw the majority of the day, because she was in school, she would come home and say, Mom, I want my hair straightened. Can you straighten my hair? I never intended on straightening my child's hair until she was a teenager or even beyond, because her hair is so pretty. Because she was struggling so much with it and that self-love for herself, even at an early age, because that's really when we have to start pouring into our children. We have to start when they are at that impressionable stage.
Yes.
So when they get to be adults, they really have a better understanding. Like, you know what? I don't care what nobody say about me. My hair, listen,
Right.
I really don't know. I really don't care what nobody says about me. I used to, but I used to when I didn't have that self-love. And I always know when it's creeping up in me because I start getting so emotionally invested in what people have to say about me. That's when I know, like, let me get back to being me.
Right.
The Leslie who loves to live, who don't take life serious, who want to help people and want to teach people, or at least show people by my example on how to really love themselves. Just because I do it my way don't mean you have to do it your way. But I try to live in a way that people can take something from me. Getting back to my daughter, I'm sorry, because I'll jump around sometimes.
Get used to it.
Getting back to my child.
All
right, I'm sorry, I'm working on it. My child struggled. So at 11, I had to take my baby to a hairdresser so she can get her hair straightened, just so she could feel like she had that self-love. I was desperate to make sure that whatever I did, because I knew she was struggling, whatever I did, that outcome was going to help her get a little closer to her loving herself, even if it went against what I wanted to do. Right. Lord in heaven knows I didn't want my child to get her hair straightened. Fast forward now to 16. She just had a birthday last Wednesday. She does not even want to see a blow dryer or a flat iron, because changing the environment that she was in, because I changed schools and put her in a different school, she's now coming out of her shell. She's now understanding it's okay for me to have this kind of hair.
Right.
There's people who will die. Listen, I wish I could go to a wig shop and find some hair like hers. Her hair is so pretty. And I used to tell her that, like, Taylor, people will die to have your hair.
Right.
Like, Mama got to go buy a wig so I could get at least a wave pattern. You know? But now she gets it. She gets it because she has learned how to love herself. And in loving herself, she is now comfortable with her hair, her eyebrows, her teeth, her nose, her color, her acne. She's comfortable with all of that now because she's now figured it out. I can be okay with however I look. I don't have to fit what the TikTokers look like. I don't have to fit what the Instagram or the influencers look like.
Right.
I'm okay with just looking like Taylor. And I'm okay with that. And so to see that growth in my child, to now know that she got it.
Yes.
You know, it's like a weight off not only a weight off my shoulder, but it's so much love in my heart, because This world is cruel.
Cruel.
It's not like when you and I grew up.
Right.
It's so different. Like, and we had our struggles growing up. These kids have struggle on top of struggle.
Right.
With everything that they're exposed to. So to see my baby kind of, navigate her way through life and being a 16-year-old and get it to the point where she's like, I'm okay. I still got some things I want to work on. I'm 16 though. But I'm okay with where I am. That was the best feeling, to see my child get to that moment.
Right.
So we have to be careful what we allow our kids to see and hear, and because they're digesting that and they're thinking that this is really what reality is, when it's really not. It's not. Reality for them on that app.
Right.
But it's not reality when you get out in the real world. There's people who are heavy. There's people who are skinny. There's people who are in the middle. The app just shows one side.
One side.
They just show one side. Oh, you have to be beautiful. Your hair has to be this way. Your makeup has to be, and that's good for that app, but it's not good for reality. And that's what we really have to deal with. So self-love and society, it's a tough one, because you want your kids to be aware of what is going on around them, but you don't want them to get so caught up and digest it until they think this is really what it is. And I think as adults, we sometimes get caught up in that
all
too.
the time.
I just had a conversation. I hate Facebook, but I have to be on it because
Right.
I need to start doing, I have to post because I have some things that I'm working on myself. But I don't like it because it can be rough sometimes. It can be taken, out of context. It can be, people can see something or hear something and think that, damn, I need to do better. This person is doing this, and I thought I was doing that, but they look like that, and I look like this. Like, because I want to live up to that image.
Right.
When all you really have to live up is to the image for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Just self-love is just truly loving who you are and loving yourself and not being worried about anything else.
I think it's time that we change that definition of self-love.
Absolutely.
Self-love, take the comparison out of it.
Absolutely.
Self-love is not, if I am looking like this person or doing what this person is doing, then I can love myself. No, you can love yourself in your moment.
Absolutely.
As Leslie loves to say, and I love when she said, I can meet you where you are and I can accept you where you are. And I'm like, ooh, that was deep. No so girls silly. Get deep, I tell you. So but I love that moment, and it was a real moment. It was a real moment. I can meet you where you are, can accept you where you are for who you are. Mm-hmm. How many friends can say that? How many friends can say, oh, I know you need healing and I know you have these issues, but I'm going to meet you where you are and accept you for who you are? Deep. Because not everybody does that. But I'm hoping that with this podcast that you guys can come on and learn that self-love is what you see when you look in the mirror and you feel good about yourself. You feel good about your own accomplishments. Yes. You don't compare yourself to the next person. You love who God made you in his image.
Say that again.
Because he doesn't make mistakes. You love yourself for who God made you in his image. He didn't make you in my image. He didn't make you in Leslie's image. He didn't make you in Beyonce's, Rihanna's, Cardi's, and Nicki. He made you in his image. And y'all doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes. So one thing that I had to learn is, who do I think that I am to tell you what you need to be doing? And I just learned that again today. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. When I say this is real and uncut, I had to learn that. I had to relearn it because I knew it, but I had to relearn it today. Who do you think you are for you to tell me who I should be, what I should be, how I should be, who I should look like, what I should do? Everybody can make their own decisions. Now, I can make suggestions, but I have to have truth about how I tell you. This is growth. And when I said that I was going to be growing with you during this journey, it starts today. Growth. Okay, so y'all can't see my social media director, Mo. She's behind us.
She losing her mind.
Wait till y'all meet her. Y'all gonna love her. When I tell y'all self-love, she is the poster child for self-love. Yeah, raw and uncut, but, I can't wait for you guys to meet her.
Good girl.
But next we're going to talk about how this hurts your mental health. So anything we do is going to revert back to mental health because self-love, mental health, comparing yourself, we equate our status, what we look like, what our job is, what our title is, who our friends are, what we drive, where we live, our houses.
Everything.
Everything with our mental health. Who we are.
Everything.
Those things don't make you. And we want you to understand that. More importantly, we want you to share that with the next generation. We are seeing an increase in gun violence and killings because people are comparing themselves over status, over jewelry, over clothes, and all these things. So we want to talk about this mental health aspect of it. We want to help our community heal. We want to help break that stigmatism that you don't need things and you don't need to look a certain way for you to have self-love. You can be in the projects with no furniture, no food, and still love yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Listen.
Let me tell you.
Listen. And we all have a story, right?
Oh.
That's the beauty of life. We all have a story, whether it's a self-love story, whether it's a traumatic story, we all have a story. And at the end of everybody's story, it always comes back to just loving yourself.
Right.
Because again, when you know who you are and you love yourself, that you can't be stopped.
Right.
Like there at that moment when you really love yourself, the world is yours.
It's yours.
Because you don't let society and anyone else dictate to you who you are, what you can do and what you can't do, and who you should be.
Right.
Once we come to those terms within ourselves, you can conquer anything, literally. Trust me. I have so many friends, and I can't wait to get a few of them on a podcast. And I hope that they just really be raw and open up and share their stories. But I have so many friends. Listen, growing up in New Orleans was hard. It was rough. It was fun. We had a ball, but I'm a 90s, well, I'm a 70s, 80s, and 90s. But I'm a mid-70s.
She's a 70s. Don't let her fool you.
A lot 80s.
She looked like she was born in the 90s, but she's a 70s baby.
I'm a mid-70 going forward, okay? Baby. But it was rough. We had a good time because New Orleans was fun and there was things to do. But it was in the 90s, when I was coming out of high school, it was a lot of murders. I'll never forget, we were the murder capital in 93. Wow. And I can remember that because my first boyfriend got killed. He was number 392, I believe, that year. So it was rough. But to know that even as rough as it was, and some of us had it worse than others, and some of my friends had it really bad, you would have never known it. Because they loved themselves so much that they never let their circumstances define what they were going through. Whether it was their living conditions, whether it was the people that were around them, they never let their circumstances define who they were. And I would look at some of them sometimes and be like, I don't think I could have gone through that.
Right.
You see them now, they're successful, they smile, they laugh, they joke. You would never know that they went through things that they went through. And I think it's because even though in those hard times, they had, the bottom line was they had love. Right. Whether it was love from other people or just that self-love within themselves, they had that love. That was their foundation. And that's what got them through. That's what got them through. They should be angry. They should not want to be so willing to give to society for things that they went through. But they pushed through it and they are doing well. But it's because I really think that they love themselves. That was what helped them to kind of drown out all of the other things and other sounds and other situations that they were dealing with. So just know that you can get through it.
Absolutely.
Your love and your self-love for yourself is everything. It is truly everything. Once you figure that out, once you figure out how to love
and listen.
And listen.
I had to learn how to listen.
And listen. And, but that all ties into it though. Yeah. That all of that really ties into it. But once you figure that out and master that, you will blossom. You will do so well, and people notice it. They notice that you look different. You sound different. People know when I'm in a bad mood. They know when I'm not feeling good. There go Mo raising her hand.
The NOLA girl comes
and
out.
I try not to do that often, but I'm human. And we we hitting the age where them hormones is starting to kind of get a little out of whack. So sometimes you can't really help it. I apologize in advance.
But because we have self-love, we know how to communicate and apologize.
And acknowledge that
when we're wrong, we take accountability, we communicate, we say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
But that's part of self-love.
Yes.
Because when you don't love yourself, it's hard for you to apologize. It's hard for you to admit that you were wrong because you always want to be right. That's a coping mechanism. But it's not healthy. It's not healthy. But.
I like that, sis. I like that. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. So we are going to wrap this up. We hope you enjoyed our second episode of Self-Love. Please comment, like, share. If I talk too much, write that in the comments because I'll kind of settle back down a little bit. I can't get a little carried away.
No, she won't.
But you can connect with us on Facebook at Raya's Raise the Light Foundation LLC, Instagram at Raya's Raise the Light _FDTN for foundation, and you can email us at connect@rayasraisethelight.info. Again, leave those comments. We want your feedback. We want constructive criticism. We want to know if we change your mind. We want to know if we change your train of thought. We want to know if you loved yourself. We want to know if you need assistance. We want to know if you need help. Just reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rays of Hope. We love you guys. Stay blessed. See ya.
Bye.